So,
yes. Should I kickstart it?
let the camera. Yeah, I would say a few words, just a few words of welcome. Hi, everyone. Okay, I think I'm not in the screen, so here I am. Bravo. So, greetings, everyone, from Dubai, COP28, from the UN Climate Conference, the biggest gathering in the world for those who are trying to save the world. And we are here at the Digital Innovation Pavilion, a space where digital solution providers can present solutions, can meet with the global climate action community, climate governance community, so that we accelerate implementation of good and important and functioning digital solutions. And we are delighted to have today UNEP as our guest. Alex Caldas, Martin is here, UN Geospatial Information Network, UNICEF, and colleagues from Japan. And Alex will take over to present everyone.
Well, first word of gratitude. Miroslav Poza is our as board of directors and chairperson for Global Child's Foundation. Is our host in this fantastic Digital Innovation Pavilion at COP28. I'd like, on behalf of the UN Geospatial Network, our network it coordinates global geospatial information management across 40 UN agencies in the UN system. We tend to call it now ourselves One UN Geospatial. And a big thank you for this opportunity. We are going to have, I have some welcoming words, but I'd like to be grateful to our speakers. We're going to have Martin Capel, is head of assessments at UNEP, but he's also the secretary of the World Adaptation Science Program, an extraordinary world initiative about climate adaptation. And I'm very happy he is there in person in the Digital Innovation Pavilion to give him the floor immediately after my welcoming words. Secondly, I'd like really to thank Niroj Panta from UNICEF, the Emergency Operations. He's online and he will give us an overview of the Children Climate Vulnerability Index. We'll also have the great pleasure to have my colleague Ravi Chanka. He's the vice chair of the UN Geospatial Network. He is a world expert in health, and he's conducting a world project for the health facilities database. He is happy to explain to you what we are doing, not only in that regard, but also on One UN Geospatial Situation Room. And last but not least, of course, Miroslav, you'll be closing the session. Let me just have some welcoming words and some focus. The world is facing tremendous humanitarian challenges. For the first time, I think we have the whole world facing problems in peace and security, in sustainable development, and in humanitarian altogether. I think these humanitarian challenges of people, places, and planet require bold action. In order to have bold action, we need to use the best available toolbox. I'm a true believer that climate adaptation, climate vulnerability analysis, disaster risk management, emergency can be accelerators for these bold action on tackling these planetary crises. The triple planetary crisis, particularly with climate change, with biodiversity loss, and with pollution, is increasing the challenges of the world. So adding to the peace, security, the sustainable development problems, and to the humanitarian problems. What we have been trying to do is also to use geospatial technology, applications, capacity building as part of this toolbox to accelerate solutions, scalable solutions for these problems. We're a true believer. We have a big One UN acting boldly, 40 UN entities, one UN situation room. Ravi will give you more details, but particularly he'll give you details as well on the nexus. Why health problems are related with climate problems, are related with humanitarian problems, are related with peace problems and conflicts problems. So I'll be very much eager to listen to it. My last words is about the true belief that we need to have the one map for one humanity platform up and running and working, because in order to intervene from the very local level impacting on people, to intervening at the national level, then the regional continental level, and finally to the global level, we have to use a number of technologies and innovations that are not that are able to traverse with efficiency and effectiveness this connectivity. So that's why I'm a true believer geospatial is for better lives. Geospatial can transform the lives of people, places, and planets. Without further ado, I'm so happy to have these fantastic colleagues online. Before giving the floor to Ravi, to Neeraj, I will hand over immediately to Martin Capel to provide you an overview how climate adaptation can be part of this toolbox for solutions for humanity. Over to you, Martin, and hartelijk bedankt, and a big thank you from Nairobi.
Thank you very much, Alex Caldas, head of early warning at UN Environment Nairobi. Very happy to be here, colleagues. Also, really a big pleasure to be here with the colleagues from the other agencies. Dr. Ravi Shankar, UNICEF is here on this fantastic occasion at the Digital Innovation Pavilion on the 5th of December at COP in Dubai. I've been asked to share a few thoughts on what is the World Adaptation Science Program, the WASP, and how it relates to digital innovation. So the World Adaptation Science Program is an initiative by 7 intergovernmental organizations and UN agencies, including UNEP, UNFCCC, IPCC, the UN University, the Green Climate Fund, the GEF, and the WMO. So those are 7 agencies, and we have just received news that UNESCO will join in early 2024. The World Adaptation Science Program is a program that focuses on what is called adaptation science. We have an overarching management group headed by the representatives of the 7 UN agencies, and the current chair, and we are really delighted to have him in that role. The current chair of the World Adaptation Science Program, or the WASP, is Dr. Abdallah Moqsid. He is the secretary of IPCC in Geneva. And he is overseeing 2 committees, a science committee and a policy and finance committee that are composed of scientists and policymakers, as well as financial specialists. And they are supported by a secretariat, which I am very happy to head in my role as head of the secretariat at UNEP in Nairobi. These 2 committees together work on 3 areas of focus. One is the global goal on adaptation, another one is adaptation effectiveness, and the third one is loss and damage. And we all know that loss and damage is becoming more and more important, coming to the forefront already last year in Sharm el-Sheikh at COP27, where the decision was taken to establish the Loss and Damage Fund. But actually here now at COP28 in Dubai, this is materializing, as we all know, with lots of very good contributions from member states, including the EU, to contribute to this Loss and Damage Fund that will be managed in the beginning by the World Bank. So the World Adaptation Science Program is supporting through the provision, I should say, of data and scientific knowledge. Knowledge actually that is IPCC is not able to develop itself. So we are complementary to IPCC, and we have various products and services that are feeding into the UNFCCC negotiation here actually at the COP and at all COPs that we have been supporting since 2018 when the program was established. Now, I would like to walk you through some of these key products that we have. First of all, there is the Adaptation Gap Report. Earlier today, here at COP28, we presented the 2023 Adaptation Gap Report that the WASP is producing together with UNEP and the UNEP Copenhagen Climate Center. And this report is telling us, with using the latest scientific data and knowledge, is telling us that the world is lagging behind on the adaptation agenda, as actually adaptation planning, finance, and implementation are lagging behind, are not on track, and are what we call plateauing. That's like leveling off, and there's not a lot of progress currently being made. Then also there is UNEP's emission gap report, which was also earlier today in the climate action arena presented by our executive director Inger Anderson and her colleague at UNFCCC, the executive secretary, Dr. Simon Steele. So these are some of the products that the WASP is supporting. So the WASP is like a think tank where we have the highest level scientists from across the world, including, for instance, the late Professor Salim ul Haq from Bangladesh. He passed away just a month ago. Very sadly, he was planning to be here at the COP. He was one of the founders of the World Adaptation Science Program, and of course is the grand master, we could say, of the loss and damage topic and locally led adaptation. And we owe a lot to him, and we take forward his legacy. And there's also Dr. Cynthia Rosenzweig, Columbia University, who recently received the World Food Prize. So we have these eminent scientists, but of course they work with lots of research fellows to bring the latest science to inform policy and practice for the adaptation agenda. Now, in this regard, I would like to mention another product that the WASP has been developing, which are the policy briefs on innovative topics, what we call of emerging importance. And this relates to early warning and assessments. This relates to foresighting, where we pick topics that are really at the horizon that we need to tackle because little information is available for policymakers. So through our assessment process, we bring the latest science and knowledge into these policy briefs, tailor-made for the audiences like policymakers and practitioners and decision makers. And some of the topics we've been addressing are early warning for adaptation, transboundary risks, high-end climate change, and the global goal on adaptation. And currently we are developing one on loss and damage. And then finally, I would like to mention the third, what we call major service we are offering to the world, which is the so-called Adaptation Futures Conference series. We just had one in Montreal, Canada in October, where some 1,500 to 2,000 policymakers, practitioners, and scientists gathered to exchange the latest information in the adaptation arena and landscape. So why am I saying this? Because all of this science needs to inform policy making. So we try to bridge the science policy interface, the science policy gap that is still out there. Many developing countries, vulnerable countries, do not have access to the latest data and science. And in this regard, we try to help them through the UN process with the 7 UN agencies and partners, really building from the knowledge that scientists can bring to the table. But also we have a kind of reverse process, I would say, where we ask policymakers, what is the information that you need that scientists should help develop? So that's like a reverse process. So it really should be demand-driven, the knowledge. But finally, let me make one more point. And of course, we can speak more, but there are more panelists here. And I would like to make just the point that right now, we have to take this science for policy into the digital era, right? So it's no longer just that we need to develop PDFs with reports. Of course, you will need those as background documents, but we have to take advantage of the digital transformation work with artificial intelligence, look at the Internet of Things, blockchain. You know, there are so many. Of course, the experts here on the in the meeting, they know very well. There's so many tools and technologies that we need to start bringing in and use them to really, let's say, spread the word about the latest scientific knowledge and get that into tools, technologies, into AI to help countries, member states, communities, and just people around the world so they themselves can help make a difference on the adaptation climate agenda, but also in order to reduce our carbon emissions, carbon dioxide, methane, and so forth going forward, because this all needs to happen in sync, adaptation, mitigation, and then ultimately, of course, address loss and damage. But we have to avoid loss and damage and focus on the adaptation agenda, making sure that people and communities are resilient, climate resilient, and reduce their vulnerabilities. So with those few comments, I would like to end this short intervention, and I would again thank the organizers for inviting me to share these points. In this regard, I would like to hand back to our chair for today, Dr. Miro, who will probably introduce the next speaker. Oh, apologies, Alex will actually, who's chairing this meeting, will actually give the word to the next speaker. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Well, a warm thank you, Martin. A warm thank you for your availability. I'm thrilled by the importance of the World Adaptation Program and how this can impact on people and places, planet. A big thank you. I'll hand over to Neeraj Panta from UNICEF Emergency Operations. I'm very curious, because if there's one area, it's the nexus between climate vulnerability and the impact on people, but the impact on children. And I'm very curious to see how UNICEF is giving this to the world. So over to you, Neeraj Panta.
Thank you, Alex, for the opportunity. Good afternoon, colleagues. My name is Niroj, and I'm going to present to you about the geospatial and the climate vulnerability work that the UNICEF is doing since past couple of years. So you can see my slides. I can see open the screen. All right, okay. So I'll just put off my video just to make sure that the connection is good enough. So let me start my presentation. So a recent global study on children risk, especially the climate risk, highlighted there are at least 1 billion children that are at risk due to climate crisis. And the impact of climate change is not uniform across regions. It's affecting different population in different ways, and hence there is the geospatial variation that is playing a crucial role in accessing the risk and also accessing the impacts that this risk is having, particularly on children. So identifying and locating these most vulnerable children across the world is particularly challenging, which hinders our ability to offer targeted aid and assistance. We, of course, have access to a range of data and information around this sphere. While valuable, this abundance and complexity can easily overwhelm and impair our ability to extract any actionable insights out of them. So to address these challenges, we require like geospatial data that is accessible, easy to interpret, and applicable in shaping the effective response to climate-induced risk. So that actually led to what we call Children Climate Risk Index. This is just a slide which highlights how complex the phenomena is, what are the drivers of the risk, and how it's impacting the children, how this multi-hazard issues is actually impacting children's both in a short term but also in a long term. So Children Risk Climate Risk Index, this is where we use data to generate evidence on how many children are currently exposed to climate and environmental hazards and other shocks and stresses. And we call it CCRI as a short form. And this CCRI basically uses the underlying risk concept, that is intersection of exposure to different hazards, shocks, and stresses, and vulnerability. This is a well informed, well acknowledged concept of the risk, and also being used. Also, it's used by Inform Global Risk Index, which I'm sure most of the colleagues can relate to. Uh, the Inform Global Index actually uses 3 pillars as opposed to 2 pillars that UNICEF currently uses, which is the capacity to deal with this crisis. We have tried to simplify it, and we incorporate some of these capacity related dimensions into the vulnerability. And we did it at a global scale. So using almost around 56 variables indicators, we measure risks across 163 countries. That's where we generate evidence on how many children in which countries are exposed to what kind of environmental hazards and stresses. So that project actually led us to move from a global scale to subnational scale. Um, so from moving from the global analysis, we identified the most vulnerable countries that are exposed to climate risk. But and to make a programmatic decisions to strengthen risk-informed programming in these countries, we required a subnational approach. So this is the model that we developed collaboratively with the national stakeholders, the national disaster management authorities, the UNICEF partners on ground, the regional counterparts. So this is basically a collaborative approach within the country, where we utilize in-country experiences, in-country's data, um, coming from various national and international sources, and try to standardize it as a model in a way that it fits to the country's realities and country's context. And of course, as I mentioned, these things are multidimensional in nature, and also quite complex to comprehend for a non-technical technical user. So in response to that, we have also developed an interactive platform where user can log into the system, play around with the data, use the filters in a way that it's easy for non-technical users, without having to have a specialized knowledge uh, of GIS. um, One can easily navigate around the system and go. This is just it's a slide which shows the concept. So on the pillar 1, we have children exposure to shocks and stresses, and by shocks and stresses, I mean natural hazards, climate related natural hazards. And then on the other hand, we have vulnerability, that is coming out from the different indicators, and as an index, we combine these two pillars to give a comprehensive picture of the risk subnationally. And this is example from Kenya, which we recently concluded. So this is the platform that I was talking about. The GeoSite platform is UNICEF in-house GIS platform, where we use this kind of analysis, the one like the CCRI, to visualize among different audiences and stakeholders. One of the success story that we recently had was this was actually integrated in Kenya's national government website, as a tool to guide their action plans related to climate and natural disasters. So this is an open source platform which gives a flexibility of empowering the audiences, empowering the users, and building for the users. So we have an external service provider company who is building this platform using open source tools and technologies. And by open source, it's also possible for collaborators and for other technical users to provide comment on, so that we can iteratively develop this platform and improve in the future. So I would just like to touch upon the geospatial strategy that UNICEF is currently adopting. We are moving ahead from a more commercialized architecture to a hybrid architecture where we are also bringing in open source tools and technologies, which is quite important when we try to sensitize government counterparts in developing nations. Um, the geospatial strategy try to bring together the commercial element as well as the open source element, so that it's flexible and fit to the context. Um, so as we have conducted this in multiple countries now, the climate risk index, we have observed some windows of opportunities that I would like to share with the audience today. First is the evidence generation. Clearly, the subnational climate and disaster risk assessment is accessible through the platform and also usable, and that can be complemented or supplemented with other relevant information as well. We are also trying to use this as advocacy tool for the children in the National Climate Adaptation Plan, NDCs, and other national and regional platforms. We're also trying to bring together the youth as a driver of change in the whole process, so that they are consulted, and also that the final result are shared with the youth communities and youth groups within the nations. And finally, a cross-sector collaboration between multiple government entities, national governments, private sectors, and civil societies and academia. So these are the reflections and the windows of opportunities that we have observed during this initiative. With this, I would like to conclude my presentation and happy to answer any questions if you may have. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. I'm always thrilled by how in practice UNICEF and the other UN system entities and in collaboration with the local private sector NGOs, you can bring the lives of people, the risk and the vulnerabilities, the assets of lives of people and particularly children, and how you can then scale from the very local level and the national levels to the global level. I also like to make a note on the way you use OpenGIS and open geospatial technology and services to provide these services at the scale, at the global scale, but as you demonstrated with impact on national and local levels, it's impressive. We will have time, I think, for some questions at the end. Let me give the floor now to Ravi Shankar. As I before introduced, is a world expert. He is responsible for managing the Global Health Facilities Database Program at the WHO. Beyond that, is the director of the center, the health center, who manage at Geneva networks of WHO, the whole program that I'm referring to. But I have the pleasure to be his colleague and as chairing the UN Geospatial Network. So over to you, Ravi. Open to you. I think you have a presentation as well. Over to you. And Ravi is now in Geneva, but usually he's everywhere as well. So over to you, Ravi, to introduce the One Situation Room on health and the Nexus. Over to you.
Thanks, Alex. Thanks for the nice introduction. My name is Ravi Shankar. I'm the head of the GIS Center in WHO, and I'm also the vice chair for the UN Geospatial Network. We're going to talk about one geospatial situation room. Maybe the first slide just talks about the network itself. If you're new to this presentation or if you're hearing for the first time what UNGGIM is, this is the broader architecture of UNGGIM. There are three big pillars or three big areas. One is the bureau itself, then the regional committees, and the networks. That is how the whole composition of the UNGGIM looks. So there are three co-chairs with a rapporteur, so represented by the member states. So right now it's Belgium, Cote d'Ivoire, and Mexico are the co-chairs. And then you have the regional committees. Each regional committees have its own forum. They run their own annual meetings and they report back to the UNGGIM. And finally, the networks. There are four networks, as you see here, and we represent the UN Geospatial Network. And I'm very happy to be the vice chair, and thanks, Alex, for giving this opportunity. What comprises this UN Geospatial Network? I think Alex in the start of the presentation mentioned there are at least 40 plus UN agencies have come together. We regularly meet, we interact, we share information, we collaborate, we build community of practice, and we exchange ideas and thoughts. I think one of the idea which evolved from this is the UN situation room, one geospatial situation room. Apart from this, what have we done for? I'm a very new entry to this network. Last 4 years I've been in this network, and I we WHO as an organization benefited a lot from this network. One of the good example is this blueprint. It defines the strategic framework and the orientation on the whole idea of the geospatial within an organization, for example. When we wanted to establish a GIS center in WHO in 2022, a year ago, we established our center here. We were looking for our strategy document. We wanted to do a strategy document, and it was very easy for us to take this blueprint and adapt it to our needs. And this strategy document also is referring back to the IGIF framework. I'm just going to talk about IGF framework in few slides later. Then you can understand what it comprises of. And we also did a landscape analysis, a very nice document about all. I think at the time it was like 30, close to 30 agencies who had been part of this blueprint landscape. Both of them are available in the website, the UN Geospatial Network website. The IGF framework is what is governing or guiding us into this strategy. So we have a strategy, that is the blueprint. Actually, the strategy is coming to an end this year. We are going to have a revision for the strategy for 2025, 2030, with new entities coming in and with the new adaptations of new technologies. We are going to go there. And there are three priorities in the strategy, which is about governance, technology, and people. These are the three key priorities on which the whole strategy is based on, and transformation pathways. I'll talk about the transformation pathways a little later. And I also wanted to just touch on the various activities which has been happening. I mentioned about various documents. Also, we have been happy to say that this year, the Geography Week, we celebrated grandly all over the world, and especially celebrating the professionals who are involved in doing this work. So it is a foundation. As I said, there are three key priorities. One of the priorities is the staffing itself, or the people. What is one geospatial situation room? Before going to that, there have been two documents which have been published. It is available in our website, and the first document was done in 2022, and we had a revision of that this year, and both of them are available there. Um, the high level architecture of this is the member states on the top and the UNGGM on the bottom. So we want to have one situation room with geospatial layers which are authoritative from the member states to be combined together into this one situation room. So we have 40 plus agencies now. Each agency can take one or multiple layers as their responsibility. We call this as a foundational data set to serve to the situation room. Let me give one example. Like being in WHO, I would like to talk about the health. So we had this idea about the health facility data initiative or project. I'm just going to talk. So on a higher level, each agency is supposed to deliver at least one or more than one layers there. So WHO has agreed to contribute on health. So the foundational data set which we want to contribute is the health facility data base. And how did that translate into our day-to-day work here? So we formed the initiative in WHO called Geolocated Health Facility Data Initiative. What is this initiative? It puts the member state in the center with having one authoritative source of health facility master list. We call it as a health facility master list, plus building the capacity at the country level within the ministry to be able to regularly maintain it, update it, and publicly share it. Because that is the key criteria for our initiative. That forms the global directory, which is going to support the one geospatial situation. I think that is the whole idea. So the bigger idea of contributing there translate itself into a very concrete project for WHO, working with the ministry, putting the ministry in the center to be able to source the data so that it is authoritative. And we are asking for three parameters in our project, which is name of a facility, the type of the facility, location of the facility, with a unique ID made public in the ministry's website and pulled into the global database. And we also started looking into 50 plus countries now. Part of this project, we wanted to have all the 194 member states make the data set publicly available. So we looking into each country's capability or in terms of completeness, timeliness, and accuracy of the data sets, and also how accessible is this in the current context within a country, because sometimes the data set is available, but it is available to some privileged groups or to certain entities or through a payment of fees or through humanitarian settings. So we are analyzing the entire spectrum in terms of access, in terms of completeness, timeliness, and accuracy, and also how this forms as a centerpiece for all the work related to health. We saw the IGF framework and the transformational pathways there. We use the same pathways for a project to work with the ministries to have. I'll just take one example on governance and policy. First, we are identifying who's the ownership of these data set within a country, and then who's the custodian of this data set, and what is the access policy behind it. So we are using this framework to divide into these seven pathways, and we are working with the ministries. One last slide on this is how do we do at, from the global to the local. The Ministry of Health is in the centerpiece here. Then we have the WHO country offices and the implementing partners at the country level. They are making this happen there. We also have a coordination work from our regional office. And at the global level, we are having a strategic working group, implementation working group within WHO, and also a technical working group. This is the full framework of the coordination which leads or gives way to the data sets at the global level. Right now there are some data sets available in the UN websites. I think we find this as a fundamental for the SDGs. For example, in our case, if you want to measure universal health access or universal health coverage, it has only three parameters. One is the facility, health facility, the capabilities or the standards of the health facility, and then the accessing population because it's servicing the people. So if you want to measure 100% coverage for universal health coverage, the basic foundation is to know where the facilities are and how they are serving the requested population. Like that, every agency has already started contributing. UNEP, for example, they're contributing on the land cover, land use. They have at least 30-40 data sets, Alex mentioned in the previous meetings, which are readily available to part of the UN situation room. So finally, what does entail as an end user for me? I am a general public. I am a person from the Ministry of Health or Ministry of Statistic. How does it benefit me? So bringing all these data sets into one place, that's the called as the UN maps, and then people can go there and take the authoritative and the greatest and the latest data set from there. Finally, what does that entail in terms of decision making in the recent UNGGIM general body in New York? They came up with this. First, they appreciated that the increase in the membership of the UN network system in the in the geospatial working group, because that itself says that there's a lot of interest and enthusiasm happening there, and a lot of activities happening there. And also they appreciated the ongoing consultation on the one UN geospatial situation rule, because that's very key, because we are trying to ease out the nuts and bolts to make sure that there's a solid foundation there. And also they are very appreciable that this will be based on the IGF framework. I stop here, and thanks for the opportunity. Over to you, Alex.
Explain how important it is to partner, to have the whole one UN building together these geospatial infrastructure for people, place, and planet. Let me at the beginning, I did not emphasize so much how important it is to realize partnerships, the partnerships approach and the multi-stakeholder approach that involve beyond partnerships across the UN, but the multi-stakeholders that go to civil society, citizens, to business, to NGOs, is the only accelerator we have to tackle the sustainable development, to tackle the humanitarian challenges. And in the saying so, I will hand the floor again to our host, to Miroslav Poza. He is the chairperson of the GLOCHA, the Global Challenge Foundation, headquartered in New York, but serving the world. And I'm very pleased because we do have a plan to have a partnership between the UN Geospatial Network and Miro GLOCHA, particularly on intervention at community-based level and the use of technology innovation at community-based level and citizen engagement and community engagement, where Miro is a world excel person and excel organization. So over to you, Miro. Once again, on behalf of the speakers here, thank you. On behalf of the 40 UN agencies of the UN Geospatial Network, a big thank you. Over to you, Miro, to close the session.
Thank you very much, Alex. It's such a pleasure to have you and the Global Geospatial Information Network with us today, because the world needs more data. We need a better understanding of what's going on, who is doing what, and we have in this our global challenges response mechanism a very central role to national authorities and international authorities which build on national authorities, but there's a big potential for data which is lying in the hands of the individual citizens. And so in terms of transformative change, of making better decisions, guiding people better, rewarding people better, we need citizens focused and youth focused solutions. And that's an area where we are trying to lead with our IAI GLOCHA organization. And today is the Data Science and UN Partnerships Day here at our Digital Innovation Pavilion, and we are delighted to have you here as a partner. We have also a session in the morning with IASA, and at the press conference later there will be also colleagues from UN Global Cleantech Innovation Program. And a key topic where we want to build bridges between what the UN system is already doing on the top level and connecting it with the ordinary people and especially with youth is individual climate action and SDGs action app. So we have presented this already in New York at the UN headquarters at an event that Alex and UN Habitat Youth Program we have organized together in September. And we are saying that in the context of the SDG Summit, which took place in September, and on the road to the UN Summit of the Future, which will be in September next year in New York, we want to be the conveners of technological solution providers, data harnessing ecosystems like the Geospatial Information System, and to develop the tools for individual SDGs and climate action apps. And there is, on the one hand, is the module or element that's needed is digital identities management, so that we people who are contributing knowledge or who are documenting actions, that they are uniquely identified. And one element that is, in our understanding, very important for the early warning for all program that you have is our challenges mapping app. So which we have developed in the context of the EU Interreg Central Europe project, JET for CE, Just Energy Transition for Central Europe. And there we have developed an app where people can go out in their neighborhood and identify challenges. Now we have it for just energy transition, but it can be for so many other areas as well. It can be for climate action, for emission reduction. 2 days ago, there was also a session of your UNEP colleagues from the Clean Air Alliance, so, and about avoiding open waste burning incidents. And so these citizens, young people, can go out and flag and tag and localize challenges to the local and global community. And then this can be connected with the global geospatial information networks that you have, and it can then be the basis for better guidance of national and local action and also for incentives. So the logic is that geospatial information network, it's the between the different agencies of the UN system, and it's built on data from the national institutions. And we are here to help to organize and to bridge the data from the citizens. There are very many citizens science initiatives which have valuable data for the problems that the UN is addressing. And there's no common entry point, and with the MOU that we are planning with you, we want to put a framework for this kind of engagement, and we are offering to be the conveners. There are many solution providers in this field, thousands of citizen science initiatives which can be valuable for your work, and we will try to bring the momentum, because this kind of engagement with the citizens and with young people, that's from the institutional logic, not part of the UN entities. You need others, and therefore today's Data Science and Partnerships Day, we are offering ourselves as a partner to the UN Geospatial Information System, and we are delighted over the years that we've been now together, we have already delivered quite good results on partnership for citizens engagement, youth empowerment, and hope that this will scale up even more in the future. And the digital innovation pavilion space, we are offering this also as an opportunity in the future, in the coming years, that we have joint programs here, that it is a place where your networks can gather and also meet with the non-state actors, with the citizen science people. Yeah, so, and the announcement that we will have activities at the UN General Assembly High Level Week next year again a conference and exhibit, and probably also an edutainment show, and an invitation to you that you also partner with us for this. Back to you, Alex. Would you like to say the concluding words?
Well, I've just one word: gratitude. A big thank you for our speakers that contributed so well to demonstrate action, because I think in today's emergency world and challenges, we need bold action, and we need to have scalable solutions. And what we have seen are scalable solutions across the UN, beyond the UN. I was very impressed by Martin's overview of the work of the world adaptation. In fact, what we have is the need to have adaptation for the critical challenges, humanitarian challenges that we are facing. A big thank you for you, Martin, to be there in person in the Digital Innovation Pavilion. A big thank you to you, Miroslav Pozov, to be also there as our host. And of course, Ravi and Niraj, thank you for joining us today, and the all entities of the 40 UN agencies. We do believe geospatial is for better lives, and we do believe can have an impact on people, places, and planet. And that's our work. That's what we are here for. We wish you the best in all the events at COP, the big conference, climate change conference of the parties in Dubai. And again, gratitude to all of you. And
thank you very much, Alex. We have here somebody who would like to say a few words, I think. Yeah, but very quickly, we have 2 minutes before we end. Please come in so that you are on the camera. So you have difficulties to walk. But in 2 minutes, we have to end, so quickly.
Good afternoon. I want to say I'm very impressed with your presentation. My name is Tony Tuka. I am a climate scientist. I finished from Swansea University, but I'm running a project in Nigeria. Now I'm in Nigeria on geospatial analysis in terms of, I'm developing the tools in the local communities in terms of flooding. You know, Lagos is ravaged by flooding. When I saw this presentation, it was an inside information for me. But I would like to learn more because I am a team myself. I will see him, and I'm very happy for this presentation. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Let me also express my thanks on behalf of UNEP Nairobi headquarters here from the COP. Express my thanks to all the speakers and for the invitation. Really happy we can be a part of this. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and just for information, in May 2024, on the 9th and the 10th of May 2024, there will be the UN Civil Society Forum held in Nairobi. And we should perhaps also plan to have there some joint activities.
Big cheers. Bye-bye. No better way to conclude than to have the voice of the people, of the nations. Bye-bye.
All the best.
Thank you.
Super.
Bye-bye. Thank you.